And the thing you've got to get out of your mind is high performance doesn't mean good. High performance doesn't mean that you did well for humanity. High performance is being all you fucking can be, taking advantage of all your assets. Man's greatest burden is unfulfilled potential. One of the most successful guys that ever came through the seminar back in the 90s, he said, and he had gone to prison. He served, he did his time. How do I get rid of all these people? And in those days, you had cell phones that looked like bricks. And I said, well, change the number, and when they call your number, say something to the effect, if you don't have my number, fuck you, you're out of my life. Now, normally, people don't take me literally. Well, that's exactly what this kid did. It wasn't bad until his mother got the message, because his mother was one of his biggest problems. We've had people at this seminar that talk to their mom, and we wouldn't be here without our moms. So I'm all for loving moms 10, 15 times a day. And she wasn't dying. Nothing wrong with her. But she had trained her children. It gave her something to do all day. She had 5 kids. 5 kids calling you 10 times a day. Fills up the fucking day. In the old days, we didn't allow you to have phones. We cut you off from all, no TV, no nothing. We unplugged the phones in the castle, etc. Again, if I hear your phone, that's bad. I can already tell you won't be going to the gym anyway, but that's bad. Now, I don't agree with everything President Trump says. I happen to know him. But the one thing in what the world was screaming out for, especially the United States, is they want to change. They wanted something different. And you're seeing it around the world in different elections. The world is fucking fed up with the bullshit. And I say, with all my heart, that political correctness is a manifestation of lack of self-esteem. I'm nice to you because I want you to like me. If you die tonight in the bed, I don't give a fuck. If you want to commit suicide here, metaphorically, I don't want to get a bunch of losses. Go drown yourself in the lock. Don't cut your wrists in the fucking room and fuck up all the antique furniture. I don't care. The truth of the matter is nobody cares. In the cosmos of time, you're not a fart in the wind. Bill Gates is not a fart in the wind. Zuckerberg is not a fart in the wind. So if they're not farts in the wind, meaning in the cosmos of the big picture, the 13.8 billion years, if they're nothing, what the fuck are you? Tears were in my eyes as I read this from a Mentee Weekly report. I almost can't believe a guy like me who originally grew up in a rundown shack from the Philippines province with no formal education, business education, absolutely no corporate background, sees so much opportunity and will be achieving something of spectacular. He's doing roll-ups in Australia. He's put together a world-class board. And he didn't come directly. It's a better story if he came directly from the grass shack. But he didn't. He had a couple of stops. Stopped in Canada. I think it was Vancouver. And then and then of course we're going to talk about Josh, my 17, who's now 19-year-old phenom. And if a 17-year-old, 19-year-old, a teenager can do this, anybody in this room can. Okay, see you, YouTube. If I had to come to a 25-year-old to get rich, I'd blow my fucking brains out. Now, you won't say that. I don't want you to say that. But here's a 61-year-old guy that doesn't have a fucking pot to piss in, nor a window to throw it out, and he's telling you to go on the cheap with the other directors. How well has his plan worked for 40 fucking years? It hasn't. Now, as you get, that's how Trump would answer, or I would answer, but I don't want you to do that. But be thinking that. I mean, these guys are crazy. And then that's when your leadership steps in. You got to step up, and you got to push them back in line. And pushing a guy with 40 years experience isn't easy. Not impossible either. And once in a while, the chairman will say, fuck you, kid, I'm out of here. And he'll resign. Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out, fuckface. I'm not suggesting you say that. That's just an example. But I have been known to say shit like that. And that's why in the financial world, they either love me or hate me. They love me. If we made money together, they hate me. All the rest hate me. Because I treat everybody the same, like shit. Two of my people that influenced me, which are on my wall of influencers, Stalin and Lenin, kind of look right up there. The picture kind of looks right. But they were high performance people. And the thing you've got to get out of your mind is high performance doesn't mean good. High performance doesn't mean that you did well for humanity. High performance is being all you fucking can be, taking advantage of all your assets. Man's greatest burden is unfulfilled potential. Unfulfilled. And as much as I've accomplished, as much as Elon Musk and Donald Trump and Bill Gates and the late Steve Jobs have accomplished, they only scratched the surface of what they could have accomplished. If anything in my seminar offends you, blame your fucking parents for raising a pussy. I told you last night at dinner, love doesn't get the job done. If love got the job done, you wouldn't be here. None of us would be here. We wouldn't be getting ready to bomb North Korea. Potentially. We wouldn't have just dropped the bomb, a mother of all, whatever the fuck we dropped in Afghanistan. Love doesn't get the job done. And when you were told as a youth, you can be anything you want to be, they lied to you. You cannot be anything you want to be. They should have said, you can be anything you want to be if you go to the right school, you work 140 hours a week, you don't hang around fucking morons, etc., etc., etc. You know, when our children finished undergraduate school, and they both worked before they went on to graduate school, I told both Kelly and Derek, make 300 cold calls a day, and you'll lead the nation in sales or in anything you do. 300 cold calls a day. And that's getting through to somebody, not leaving a message, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, shit.
And they both did. You cannot, even if you're a retard like you guys, if you make 300 legitimate cold calls, you'll make $1 million a year, no problem. And that's not a lot of money. And I say that begrudgingly, but to most people it is. That's 1,500 cold calls a week. That's 6,000 fucking cold calls a month. That's 72,000 cold calls a year. If you can't make $1 million, you ought to kill yourself, metaphorically speaking. But you got to be a shithead to do this. You got to be selfish. You want your needs more than their needs. Otherwise, you're going to have a tough fucking time. Not impossible. It'll take you, I told you the longest, it'll take you 12 years. One of the nicest human beings in the world, it took him 12 years. He's a prince among men. He gets honorary awards and shit for, humanitarian of the year and shit like that. 12 fucking years to close a goddamn deal. So he can take all those honorary bullshit, he can shove them up his ass. Because that's what they're worth. I never got I got one man of the year, I stand corrected. But humanitarian of the year, I sure as shit never got. There's probably some of you in this room that got some shit like that. And it's shit. That's what you get when you're 70, 75, 80 years old. If you've already got it, you did something wrong.
See, if you're not a billionaire, you failed in my eyes. Those are the only, just like Nick, those are the only guys I keep track of. The 187 world champions he's got, or whatever the number was.
I don't get it.
Yeah, those are the only ones I keep track of. I remember their names. I'm not going to know your fucking name tomorrow. No, next week. Tomorrow I will because you're still here. Next week I'm not going to know your fucking name. The world only remembers winners, or because Hitler was a winner. As I said before, he was killing the wrong people. But the point that the young lady made, he didn't know shit. No matter, I could have a seminar from now till Christmas and you won't believe that. Because if that's true, as I suggested, then why are you where you are today if you don't have to know shit to be a billionaire? Why? Poor role models, blah, 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 blah. Okay? That's why. But you don't have to know shit. And the more you know about the industry, the less likely you're going to be a billionaire. I used to tell people, nobody wanted to hear it, I didn't know that oil and gas came up the same hole. Oil and gas come up the same hole, then there's a separator on top, and you separate. But I thought it came up two holes for 10 years, no, 7 years. And we had the fastest growing energy company on the planet for 8 years in a row. And the founders were, none of us were oil and gas guys. Accountant, lawyer, me. Now I'm I know a lot. Now I know enough. No, that's too risky, I would say. And certain things that I did before, no, fuck. That's a 1 in 20 shot. I wouldn't, there's a saying in this country, I wouldn't touch it with a barge pole. I mean, and I probably wouldn't have made all that money.
Now, President Trump is optimistic, and again, I'm not agreeing with everything he says, but he is a premier optimist, and most of the guys are also big exaggerators, myself included. I exaggerate to emphasize a point, you know. It's fucking the greatest thing that, you know, well, one, I'm emphasizing with a bad word, expletive, and two, who's going to determine whether it's the fucking greatest or not, you know? But one of the words that you kids use a lot, or when I say kids, you use awesome and epic and words like that. And if you look in the direct dictionary, what you guys are doing is not awesome. It's not fucking epic by any stretch of the imagination. Now, epic is when they dropped the fucking atomic bomb on Hiroshima. That was motherfucking epic. Okay? Now, some people would say that was also awesome because it ended the war, and the reason why that they developed that weapon of mass destruction is so we wouldn't lose, you know, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people having to invade Japan with boots on the ground. But, and I know why you use epic, I know why you use awesome, but I mean, in the scheme of things, remember, in cosmos of time, not a fart in the wind, you know, if and when they announce the cure of cancer, which I believe is we already got one, but if and when we announce that, that's a big deal, you know, that's a big deal. But they exaggerate, and they're energetic, and they don't take no for an answer. Going back to the Steve Jobs movie when they were telling them they couldn't do this and the launching back in '84, I guess it was. He said he wasn't interested in the facts. And these guys, the founders of these great companies and the leaders of these great companies, never get confused by the facts. And as I've told you, I don't get confused by the facts. I may be wrong, but I'm never in fucking doubt. And these guys, while they don't say that, I'm never in doubt. They act it. They act it. And because they have high self-esteem, they have high self-worth, and they got a lot of fucking confidence. And the more you're right, the more confidence you have. The more you're right, the more confidence you have.